Sister leader, what if I told you the most important relationship in your life is the one you have with yourself? Today, we're exploring how prioritizing self love and self respect lays the foundation for building strong, uplifting connections with others. Welcome to another episode of the Inspired Well Minded Woman podcast. I'm Dr. Denise, your wellness mindset and resilience coach. And today we're diving into relationship wellness. But here's the twist: real, meaningful relationships start with the relationship you have with yourself. You see, self love and self respect aren't just qualities that's nice to have. They're essential. They're essential for all relationships, the one you have with yourself and the one you have with others. Because, see, when we honor our own needs and boundaries, we become better equipped to create uplifting, mutually beneficial, and balanced connections with others. So before I dive in today, I'd like to invite you to take the free Well Minded Life self assessment. This assessment helps you understand where you stand in your wellness journey and identify areas that may need more attention. You'll find the link in the show notes to get started. So, as we dive into relationship wellness today, I want us to start with self-love. The relationship wellness starts with self-love. Think about it. If you don't genuinely respect and care for yourself, it becomes quite challenging to expect others to care for you and respect you. After all, the way you treat yourself is what you're teaching and how you're teaching others to treat you. So, self love involves being kind to yourself, accepting your worth, and recognizing that you deserve uplifting relationships. So, studies have shown that people with a strong foundation of self love and self respect experience healthier, more fulfilling relationships. And we cultivate self love. When we cultivate self love, we set boundaries that protect our well being. And in turn, we're able to attract relationships that reflect those values. So, Sister Leader, have you found yourself constantly giving in to others, whether it's family, friends, or maybe your career, but feeling overlooked, drained, and even resentful? Yeah, there's many of us who walk around silently filled with resentment because we haven't set and established boundaries that we respect and hold to. So you know who the people are in your family, in your social circles, in your network. You know who they are. The family members who call you whenever they want something. They show little consideration for your time and your life. They just know that you've always come through for them. And why wouldn't they continue to call you? You've been reliable. And they know that you will continue to be there to help them solve their problems. I've been guilty of that. Are you at a place where you can accept that? Perhaps you're doing it, or at least evaluate whether or not you've been doing it. And it may be to the point now that when you see their name on a caller ID, that you start taking a deep breath and think to yourself, what now? Reluctant to answer the call because you know it's going to be one thing or the next. And even in the midst of your reluctance to answer the call, habit, your habit of answering has already taken over and you answered before you realized it. Or maybe it's a friend who struggled to manage their affairs responsibly and consistently seem to have all kinds of emergencies going on in their life. So they call you the strong, capable, level headed friend that you are. to help them, and they expect you to make their emergency your urgency. Have you experienced that? I mean, the nerve, right? Of others who everything in their life is an emergency. And then they call you and they want you to solve their problem. They want you to be there for them, making their emergency your urgency with no concern of what's going on in your life or what may be going on with you. And being that friend that wants to show them, lead them to the light, you show up because you want to be that good friend. So you rearrange your life to accommodate theirs time and time again. So between your family and your friends, you're worn out and feeling underappreciated. But you're so strong, you suppress it and going on with life knowing that the resentment is building inside you. But you're a strong woman, you can't reveal that. And no one is in tuned enough to you in your circle to notice that there's something going on with you. Being a strong woman myself, and at least being labeled as a strong woman throughout my life by so many friends and family and colleagues and just acquaintances, they just saw me as this giant of a woman. I would say I've met one who was able to recognize that I was struggling. But she wasn't a friend at the time. She's someone I met in one of the networking professional social circles, and we became friends. So she was a new person into my circle. But the ones that I had been around didn't really know and couldn't tell. So now, if you add work demands and the demands of your team, and they call you even when you're off, just imagine the weight and the pressure of showing up emotionally for those emotionally high maintenance people in your life, for the needy people in your life. And I know that that can't feel good when you're constantly showing up for them time and time again, and they don't even think about what may be going on with you or valuing your time, your space, your energy, because you always seem like you have it together. So you might find it difficult to set boundaries because you don't want to disappoint anyone. And as a result, you end up sacrificing your own needs. Then you're suffering in silence just to uphold the image of being the strong woman who holds everything together, knowing that they don't have the capacity to support you. And that's a lot to carry. That's a lot for you to have to carry alone. Where's your safe space? Who is it that can relate and understand you? So that is a lot to carry, even for a strong woman. And so I want you to ask yourself if any of these you can relate to, when does it end? When do you start allowing them to show up more in their own lives so you can have the freedom to be fully present and centered in your own? I know what it's like to wear those strong woman stilettos. I've lived the experience that I've just expressed. I've been through them. There was a time when I kept pushing myself, trying to be everything for everyone, sit on committees and boards, but it left me feeling unsupported and underappreciated. And I had to learn the hard way that if I did not prioritize my relationship with myself, no one else would. All people knew to do was ask. And so, Sister Leader, think about it. Have you felt like you've been pouring everything out into your relationships, yet still yet you still feel unappreciated and unsupported in your own life? For years, I tried to be a good and reliable friend, partner, and leader, thinking that if I just did my part, that they will do theirs and things would change and eventually balance out. But it wasn't until I needed their support and they were a no show. And I can tell you that that's a harsh reality. That's such a damning and harsh reality to really be in genuine need of the support of those that you have shown up for, and they're a no show when you need them. I can only hope that you haven't experienced it, but I would say the percentage is very high that maybe you have, because the number of women that I have spoken to and I interact with who are strong women who show up all the time for others in their family, they've experienced this, even in life and death moments, near life and death moments, I should say, because they're still alive. But it wasn't until I needed their support that I had to reevaluate, especially after they didn't show up. So I had to reevaluate things and start respecting and prioritizing my own needs and setting healthier boundaries. See, we all have boundaries, but we negotiate those boundaries sometimes depending on who it is. And our boundaries become flexible. So people don't know where the lines are. They're not sure anymore when they've crossed the line because we've been so flexible and lenient with those boundaries and given more and more of ourselves. So I had to set healthier boundaries. I had to start prioritizing myself. And that's when I saw a transformation in my relationships. And a part of that transformation is some of those people are no longer around anymore because, not because I wasn't a reliable good friend anymore, it's because I was no longer giving them what they wanted in spite of myself. And for those that we serve on that level in our lives, sometimes we're always showing up for, and they're always coming to us needing, wanting, draining us without them even realizing it. They'll either figure it out on their own or they'll find another source. Hopefully, they will mature enough and grow up enough and become more responsible that the reason why that they're no longer leaning and needing us is because that they have become more responsible. And when this happened to me, I'll be honest, I had no hard feelings. Well, maybe I did initially, but it didn't last long because I process pretty quickly when it comes to my relationships. And I had to realize that holding some type of frustration and hard feelings towards them, it wasn't beneficial. It wasn't going to solve the need or the situation I was in that moment. So I had to let that go. So, yes, the feelings did come, but I quickly dismissed them or released them. I didn't harbor any of those emotions within myself. I am, in my own right, a solution focused, a results focused person. So holding on to those emotions and having grudges because they didn't show up for me wasn't going to serve me. And so I had to put my strong woman stilettos on once again and show up for myself. And because also it was a lesson for me, having gone to that experience, it was a lesson for me, which taught me that the reality of those that I pour into, and I want you to get this as well. The reality is those that you pour into those that I pour into, may not have the capacity to pour into you or show up for you. And sometimes it takes those times when you're in great need to realize who really has you in life. And so that was a lesson that I really value till this day. And I still remind myself that, Denise, it's not who you think should show up, it's who God sends. And that has having that attitude has allowed me to let people be who they are and where they are in life, and allowed me to accept the blessing of those that come into my life where we can edify each other, enrich each other's life, and have life enhancing experiences. So I had to learn that lesson. And so I had to prioritize my needs and to become more centered in my own life first, and then make space in my life for those who come to uplift, encourage, and support me without judgment. Because when people see you as a strong woman, sometime, maybe you can relate to this. When you really need, it's dismissive when they say, "Oh, you're strong when you'll get over it. Oh, you got this." There's no genuine encouragement there, but to me, that's dismissive. "Oh, you got it. Oh, you strong. Just tell me that you're unavailable to assist, to support, to help." Because those words are not necessarily encouragement all the time, right? And so for people who can show up and support you without judgment where you are, and to help you get past that moment and overcome whatever it is you're dealing with, even as a strong woman, that's valuable relationship currency there. But you have to first establish those boundaries, that self love and respect for yourself. Okay. And when you do this, when you show yourself, show others that you honor yourself, you can truly start living your best life. Now, at first, people are going to judge and question, and they're not going to be happy with the decisions that you make for yourself to show up for yourself more, to establish healthier boundaries that prevent them, not that you're trying to repel them, but the boundaries, the healthy boundaries that you establish for yourself will affect those who are trying to pull you in one direction or another, will repel those who are not concerned with your own well-being or how you're doing, but will show up for what you can give and pour into them. They're not necessarily bad people, but now you have a boundary. And when you respect that boundary and uphold those boundaries, it causes them to not have as much access to you, your time, your resources. They're not going to like that. It's not too long ago that I was working with someone about this very thing, establishing healthy boundaries, especially as a woman business owner. And then there's some cultural things that may become an issue in this situation. They're not going to like it. But guess what? If you don't establish them, you will be the one to suffer. And then the lack of self respect that you show yourself gives others, somehow in their mind, the thought that it's okay to pull on you and take and wear you down because you haven't established those boundaries. You haven't upheld your boundaries, and you're very flexible. And then I'll add this. I'll add this, that the word will get out. I remember a time in many years ago, when I started hiring entrepreneurs and coaches for my own life, for my business. And I was out and I was public speaking, and I started to notice something at a particular point in my business development was I started getting calls for speaking engagements that were unpaid. And so I had an opportunity to speak with a millionaire who, in that time, was well known, very popular, and a public speaker. And I had opportunity to ask a question, and it was about why am I getting calls to speak for free? I'm not free. And guess what? That millionaire that I was speaking to in that time asked me a question. Who told them that you did it for free? What? So then he proceeded to coach me and say, in this hot seat moment, and say, if you've done it for one person for free, even if you think that they're a close acquaintance or friend, if they know someone else who's looking for a speaker, they will recommend you, and they're also going to share that you did it for free. And that was so eye opening because now I no longer had the boundary around myself because I did it for someone and their organization, and I didn't charge them. And that was a great lesson. It's like, wow, you did. I told one, and I was like, it had to be that person who shared it with someone else. And I was getting calls and I was getting calls, and I was like, no. So it was a domino effect because that person spoke to someone else, and that person wanted to speak to someone else. You see, and I started getting more and more calls, and I was just like, no. So I had to reestablish boundaries around my services and how I showed up professionally. And no longer did I do free. At the time, um, I there was only so many in-kind services that I would do a year. And I didn't start out with that, right? I would just like, okay, well, let me go do this. If this person recommended, I'll go do. But no, there was a limit to how many complimentary services I was getting because I had to reestablish that my services had come with fees. For me showing up, there's a fee. It's an investment to have me show up. And so that particular hot seat with that millionaire at the time really helped me understand the benefit of healthy boundaries, not just in my personal life, but also in business, which the number of business women, entrepreneurial women that I talk to struggle with this in some way. So you're not alone in this journey, but there is a solution to this. And the solution is a healthy relationship with yourself is the foundation for every other connection you have in your life, be it platonic, personal, or professional. It is the foundation. And you can start with small acts of self love. And here's a tip for you you can set one personal boundary this week, whether it's taking time to have undisrupted rest. Sometimes you'll take a nap, and maybe the people you live with, or you're just trying to decompress, and maybe the people in your home, I don't know the dynamic of your situation, but perhaps maybe the people in your home, they see you resting, that means you're available to them. Or if someone in your family knows that you're done with your day's work at a certain time, and that between that hour commute or whatever the situation is for you, that they feel that they can fill that time with their needs, with their gossip. No. So you want to take time for undisturbed rest. And I encourage you putting that on your calendar as an appointment so that when you're speaking to people and they say, "Hey, what are you doing at such time?" You're going to say, "Oh, I have an appointment," because you have booked you on your calendar. And don't compromise that time. Okay. Also, saying no is a complete sentence. So say no to unnecessary commitments. Or perhaps simply speaking up for yourself and for your needs. Maybe asking for help, strong woman. Sister leader, there's strength in asking for help. If you're so accustomed to showing up for everyone else and being there and handling, making things happen on your own, I know it can be challenging at first, but even I had to change my mindset on the power of asking for help. And for me, in my personal life, it is still a work in progress because I could need help to get a job, a project done faster. And someone may ask me, and I find myself, even my personal life, I find this sometimes, and I have to laugh at myself when I catch myself doing it. They'll say, "You need help." And I'll say, "No, I got it. No, I need help." Oh, I have a couple more stories I can share on this. In fact, I'll share one more, which was a time I had given an assignment to an accountability group that I was working with at the time, and which were other business women. Okay. So we're so strong, and we don't realize that we too can have help and be supported. It comes from someplace else. It's not necessarily people that we show up and support, right? And so I challenge everyone, and of course I participate in the challenges. So next time we're out and someone offers to help you, accept the help if it feels comfortable, of course, right? And so I ended up at this store and I was holding this box, I'm strong, I take my exercise therapy and physical wellness seriously. I can hold this box. It's only two people in line ahead of me. It's going to be a short period of time. Well, the person that was at the register took forever to check out of a few things. I don't know what it was, but it took forever. I don't know if they were couponing or what, I don't know. But I'm now holding the box. So the man that was in front of me had a cart and he said, "Would you like to put your box here while we wait?" I said, "No, no, thank you. I got it." And he said, "Okay." So we went on. The person's still at the register. Like, my gosh. He looked at me again and he said, "You sure? I don't mind. You could just rest it here." I said, "No, I'm good. I got it." The person at the register was still there. It was so long. And I don't care if you hold something that's light initially, if you start holding it for a long period of time, it gets heavier, right? The law of gravity still works. And it doesn't matter how strong or powerful I felt in that moment because, yeah, I exercise, I strength train on a regular basis, right? I don't miss a day. And it was like, oh my gosh, the box got so heavy, even though it probably weighed 10 pounds. And so now I started looking around for a place to place the box because in that moment, I couldn't say, okay, I didn't feel comfortable enough to say, okay, I'll rest it there, right? Perhaps in my mind, it was, I didn't want to show weakness. I don't know, maybe subconsciously it was there, but I failed the challenge that I gave everyone. And I'm open and transparent enough to share this with you because it's through these moments that we learn when we are aware of them and we grow and become better. And naturally, I brought that example back and I shared it with everyone. And it was like, wow, they didn't even realize how often they did it. And they started reflecting on how many times they told someone who was willing to assist them throughout their day or and their week, no, when they really could have used the help. Right. And and then we also realize everyone who asks you if you want an assist isn't necessarily trying to flirt with you. They're just being gentlemen. And so that was such a lesson for me. And and so we continue to learn and grow in this way. So, another way that you can start showing more self respect and more self love this week is start practicing more self respect is showing yourself the same kindness and the care that you give so freely to those who keep calling you, pulling on you, asking you to show up for them, those that you have served and helped and supported throughout the years, those for whom you are the glue that hold things together in their life until they were able to do it for themselves. Show yourself the same level of kindness. Give yourself more grace. You deserve it too. And when was the last time, sister leader, that you told yourself, well done? I don't care if it's something you cooked in the kitchen and it turned out better than it was the last time, or if you tried to bake something new, or maybe you launched a product that went smoothly. Whatever it is, you caught yourself. Maybe you didn't overspend. Whatever it is that you did, maybe you didn't lose your cool in traffic. When was the last time you said, well done? When was the last time you celebrated a small win? Maybe it's time to start appreciating yourself more. And you can start there today, this week. And remember, when you love and respect yourself, you radiate such an energy that invites others to do the same. I don't know if you've ever met anyone who just seemed to glow and just have this life and vitality about them, and they were just radiating. It could be because they love themselves and they respect the boundaries that they have established for themselves, which gives them room to be centered in their life. So I want to know what boundary you will be setting for yourself this week. How would you prioritize your well being this week? I'd love to hear from you. So share it in the comments below and use the hashtag well minded leader so we can connect and support each other on this journey to creating stronger, more fulfilling relationships with ourselves first and then others. And if you're ready to dive deeper into building a healthy relationships and taking control of your wellness journey, join the six, join the Step Into Your Best Self 30-day Walk to Wellness waitlist. Yes, there is a waitlist. So I usually open this up um, once a year. But for all the feedback that I have gotten and all the people who've reached out to me and in my DMs about how I help them start taking care of themselves again, I'm thinking about launching this maybe twice a year, just to help people get back into the momentum of taking care of themselves again. So, yes, there's a wait list, but when I open it up and when you're on the wait list, you'll be the first to know when we're going to launch and kick off this challenge, the Step Into Your Best Self 30-day Walk to Wellness. So, this 30-day experience is designed to help you build the habits, the self care, the self respect needed for a fulfilling life, whether you're looking to reduce stress, gain more energy, or focus on personal growth. This journey is here to support you in those endeavors. So let's take our wellness to the next level together. So go ahead and secure your spot on the wait list. The link will be in the show notes, and let's walk this path to our best self together. Sister leader, relationship wellness begins with honoring yourself. When you truly love and respect yourself, you attract relationships that are built on those same values. My life has improved tremendously since I made the changes, and I'm sure your life will be better once you do the same. Just remember that it's not about being perfect, it's about making choices that uplift your spirit and call upon your best self every day. And finally, I'm so honored to walk this journey with you. It is truly a privilege that I get to do the work that I do. So be sure to join us next week for the next exploration into the pillars of wellness. And as we continue to prioritize our wellness, let's soar higher together.